What is going on, everybody? My name is Steven. This is the Bama Saltwater Fishing Channel. I welcome you to the channel if this is your first time here. If you've been here before, welcome back as always. Today I want to show you how I launched my boat solo. I have a 17-foot Scout, or Scout 177, just over 17 foot long, and I do tons of solo trips. I've been doing this a while, and now I want to share my experience how I launched this boat by myself. A lot of y'all watching probably are very experienced anglers and very experienced boaters. Maybe you can take something away from this video. I try to learn something every time, but I'm making this video mainly for those that are a little hesitant on whether they want to buy a boat because they're afraid to launch it, or are hesitant to go out because they just don't know how to launch it by themselves, or if you're afraid to launch your boat. You know, it sounds like a big task, but it really isn't when it boils down to it. It's just a few specifics. So the first thing I like to do, and I like to say, is do the majority of your prepping, if not all of it, before you pull on the ramp. It is in the middle of winter here in South Alabama, so it's not a busy ramp. It's the off season. There's 3 other lanes, so I'm not blocking anybody trying to launch a boat on a day like today, so I pulled the boat right up to the ramp. But most of the time, a lot of boat ramps will have a prep zone, or you can pull into a parking spot first and do all your prepping. You know, I've got my rods on there, got the cooler. Make sure you get your bait, get your drinks, and then I'll show you how I go step by step to get ready to launch this boat. But like I said, majority of the time you want to do most of your prepping away from the ramp, as to not block other boaters that are ready to load or unload. But on a day like today, this is a perfect day to do a video like this. So first thing I like to do after I move everything on the boat, you know, my cooler, bait, etc., is make sure I have my boat keys before I leave the house. But I like to start at the bow of the boat and just do a walk around to make sure I'm ready to go. You know, I fish a lot of big water in the smaller skiff, so I like to be extra cautious when I go out and make sure everything works before I get on the water. But your trolling motor, make sure your plug works, press the power button, and make sure you have battery, which we do. Because I've definitely launched the boat before without checking that, saying, oh, it's good. And then I go to plug it in and I had a prong broken off and I couldn't use my trolling motor that day. Also, make sure you have your remote for your trolling motor. Next thing I like to do is just do an overall walk around the boat. Come back to the stern here. And on your transom, you definitely want to undo your straps here. I use straps on my trailer all the time, so you don't want to leave these on when you back that trailer down, because then your boat's going to be stuck to your trailer and you'll probably flood it a little bit. So undo your straps. And while you're back here, the most important thing that a lot of people forget is your boat plug. So I keep mine in for the most part, unless I know I took in a lot of water or something. And what I do is I just come and make sure and verify that that plug is in there nice and tight, because the last thing you want is to have a plug that vibrated out while the boat was on the trailer, and then you launch your boat and you're taking on a bunch of water. It's not a good situation, and you want to prevent that by always checking that plug. Even if you doubt yourself that you did, just come back and check it. Really simple. Next thing I do while I'm back here, obviously, you know, you want to make sure you keep good maintenance on your motor, but you want to do that before you launch your boat and before you come to the boat ramp. But I check my prop. I make sure I don't have any major play in my prop, and I make sure that cotter pin is still good and not rusted out. Problems are extremely amplified when you're out on big water like that. So we got our transom straps off, our prop is okay. Let's go ahead and put these up, and our plug is in. So let's go ahead, hop up in the boat and get our dock lines tied on. See, we have some nice docks here. So when you're tying on your dock lines, you want to figure out which side you're going to dock on. Since I have the trolling motor on my port side, or my left side here, I like to dock majority of the time on my starboard side or my right side, so as to not bang up this trolling motor. It can damage it. So I tie all my dock lines on my right side of the boat. And I just use 2. It's really simple. You can buy these dock lines and they last you literally the lifetime of the boat. But I come to my cleat, run it through the middle just like that, and wrap it around both sides, and there's a secure dock line. And then I'll make sure this is not tangled up, but I just make sure it's easy to grab when I launch the boat. And let's go do this one here. All right, that's good. Now let's go ahead and turn our battery switch on. Remove all our covers without dropping them everywhere. And then lastly, before we get ready to launch this boat, we want to trim that motor up, which this motor is trimmed just good for this ramp, as so you don't scrape your skeg or the bottom of the motor while you're backing in the boat. Once you get in the water, you can trim it down. I like to go ahead and put my key in the ignition, and so it's ready to go when I launch this boat. I solo launch my boat all of the time, and this is what I do here. But I come to my safety chain, take that off, and then I release my winch here and give it a bunch of slack. About a couple feet of slack, just enough. And now then, very important part, lock that winch back. Because the last thing you want, and I've done it before, is to launch your boat and you hear zzz from your winch going off because you didn't lock it back. So that's enough slack for me. If you're on a really steep ramp or a shallow ramp, you can adjust that slack, but out here, this should be perfect. And I leave it clipped. Now these are bunk trailers. They have carpet over wood, so the boat doesn't slide a lot. If you have roller bunks, you want to do something a little different than that. This is for trailers with bunks. So a lot of people come and unplug their trailer lights before they launch the boat and before you dip the boat in the water, because you know, electricity and water don't mix well. I never do. I like to leave it plugged in nice and tight with a good dielectric grease connection. And I haven't had an issue yet in 5 years of owning a boat trailer myself. But you know, you want to follow your manufacturer's recommendation on your trailer about the lights. But if I do that, I'm just going to completely forget when I drive back, and then I'm going to have no lights on my trailer when I pull the boat in because I'm going to forget. So I like to leave those in. But if you have a short somewhere or bad ground, you may blow a fuse, so you definitely want to pay attention to that because electricity and water don't mix. So this is a short trailer, and this boat sits on the bunks really well. So I have to back it down a little bit more than you would some other boats. So normally I back it down by looking in my rearview mirror at my fenders and see when the water gets pretty much to the top of this tire. Depending on the tide and your steepness of your ramp, sometimes that fender will be completely covered in water, but every boat and trailer is different. So we're ready to launch this boat. I know that's a lot of talking and a lot of information, but I'm just trying to get it out there to you. So let's go ahead and get our boat launched. All right, we're in the water. Had to go in a little bit further than I really like to do because the water's extremely low this time of year. That's why it's very important anytime you launch in saltwater to rinse off everything. I rinse off my truck with fresh water, and I rinse off everything when I'm done because of this situation right here. But every ramp's different. One thing I forgot to mention, I always like to roll down, no matter what the temperature is, my driver's side window. And for the simple fact, and you hope you never have to, but if your truck decides to roll back or something fails, because mechanical things, there's always a chance of something failing, you don't have to bust out your window to get out. You can go through the window. So enough of that. Let's go ahead over to our boat, and we're gonna go start this motor. So the last thing you wanna do is untie your boat drift away and have motor issues. So let's go ahead and trim down the motor all the way. All right, let's go ahead and start our motor. There we go. Got a good telltale, which means we got water spitting out. Engine started right up. Now let's go untie and get docked up, and we are finished and ready to go fishing. So I'll normally come to the bow of the boat here and unclip my trailer strap here, and we're ready to back up and go dock. There are other ways of doing it by tying this line to the trailer right there, but I do this all the time this way, and I've gotten really proficient at it. Let's go tie up here, get off this trailer. And all I do is wrap the line around the post a couple times here and give a couple half hitches, and we're tied up. So we got a launch boat ready to go fish in the big, beautiful Mobile Bay here. You know, if you want to, you can always add some fenders, especially if it's roughs, to prevent your boat from banging up. But I have a really nice rub rail here that kind of protects from banging up against the piling unless it's extremely rough. So there's a launch boat. Let's go ahead and park this truck and go get to fishing. I hope y'all enjoyed this video and hopefully y'all got something out of this. I know, like I said, a lot of y'all probably done this a million times and have your own way doing it. But this is just for those that are looking to either buy a boat or just afraid to go out in it solo because they don't know how to launch it by themselves, or if you're afraid to launch it. So I do this all the time. And you see that was a very simple process. The key is just attention to detail and prep everything before you get to the ramp. So I appreciate y'all for watching as always. Don't forget, please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content like this. We got a bunch of cool fishing content on here and a bunch of outdoor stuff. And don't forget to drop a comment down below. We'll see you on the next Bama Saltwater fishing video. I want to thank the good Lord up above for everything he does for us. We'll see you later.